So should we do this properly this time?
Start out, yeah. Right. Immediately start out.
I'm good, thanks.
Ladies first. Where are you going to give us a
Well, do I need to put my lippy on?
So we're being good.
What, to get a cake first?
Get a cake.
No, you don't have to do that. You put your lippy on any time, after you, sir.
Oh, that's a good old English apple pie, though.
What would you like,
apple pie. Yeah. Oh, can't go wrong with apple pie.
I've got cherry bakewell, mate.
Oh.
Cherry bakewell for me. And we've got tea fresh as well.
Actually, they're low enough. You can stack them, couldn't you? You can double decker them.
That's a drug thing, isn't it? Stacking.
Probably.
No drug references
I
allowed.
thought it was a multi-story car park.
Stacking. Silly boy.
Right.
Right, so welcome to part 2 of Delboy's Garage USA. Was you Q&A USA.
Yes.
You can see it's late in the day, can't you?
Okay.
Right.
Terrence,
I
Segaton.
better wait a minute because no one's going to answer otherwise.
Okay.
Carry on.
It's waiting quiet at this end of the garage.
I'll be some time.
That's why we can't eat.
That's it, you
We
can.
ask questions.
Yeah, we
Right.
can't eat.
We can all eat for a minute and speed that bit up, can't we?
I'll tell you all about it when I finish it. We'll send you a postcard.
Go on then.
But
Go, Millie.
Terrence Segaton, sorry if that's not right, but he says, hey, World Superbikes or MotoGP, have you been to either? What was the weekend like? Cheers.
Well, I actually think the BSB, the British Superbike, is better. I'm sure that's controversial. It is close racing. It's a bit more like club racing used to be. It's not quite so, hasn't had so much money thrown at it, and money and sport, in my opinion. Well, but yeah.
Leave it.
Yeah, probably best not go there. Yeah. It's a great weekend. They always are. It's exhilarating. It's exciting, and you don't get to take any risks. So it's what about you?
Well, for me, it's that the family, that, we were talking about a sense of family. When you go to a racetrack, you're all there to watch, and I can only liken it when people asked about football earlier on. When you see a football crowd, there's a sense of family amongst them. They're all supporting the same team. So I suppose if you're going to watch Rossi race, or you're going to watch your favourite rider or whatever, or Kevin Schwantz more in our time,
Yes, Mike Howard.
Yeah, so Mike Howard, yeah. Then obviously that sense of camaraderie with the people around you, that you all got that common interest, that to me is what it'd be about. On a grass bank in the sunshine watching track racing with 500 other like-minded people. What's not to like?
Yeah.
Tea and cake and you're sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't race close enough to where we live in Michigan that I've ever had the opportunity to go see one. So if I've ever watched any of it, it's always been on the television. So not that I don't want to go watch one, but
But in that vein, I would say, having been a few times myself, everybody that ever gets the opportunity to go to the Isle of Man should go, even if only once, just to experience it. It's just road racing.
That's a completely different thing than
road racing.
MotoGP.
It is. It's truly exciting, and they are true.
They still do
gladiators.
almost like a run what you brung kind of thing in different categories for the TT, right?
Yeah, it's a. I mean, you get guys who go there. That's their only race of the entire year.
And they rode the bike there.
It has happened. It has happened. But
Was it Joey Dunlop who dumped a bike in the sea?
oh yeah,
He's going over on a fishing
The
boat.
boat sank.
Yeah.
The boat
So
sank.
he's got his race bike on a
For a
fishing
minute there, I
boat.
thought he was like, this bike is rubbish, and just
And
threw
they-
it
No,
off the
they were
side.
going on a fishing boat,
Well,
weren't
because they were all skint, aren't they?
they? Yeah, not going to money, are they?
Rather than go on the Isle of Man steam Costa packet, because it does.
Yeah, a rowboat.
They had an old fishing thing, and it sank. And all the bikes went to the bottom of the briny. And they got him out, and the following day he was racing it.
Yeah, rinsed it out.
Yeah, it was stripped right down, cleaned up.
I think it's the same as-
WD-40 will fix anything.
What's the Irish one called? Is that the Northwest 200?
The Northwest Jump, that's mad.
When you watch that, I think
that
those
helps the
people,
GP.
they are riding gods. There is no one who has bigger cojones than them. The nerve at 200 mile an hour past stone walls.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. They people have got a sixth sense to be able to ride. So if I wanted to go and watch any racing, it'd be the Northwest 200.
Or the Ulster Grand Prix, another
Yeah,
one,
the Ulster Grand Prix.
similar vein, yeah.
Same sort of thing, racing on the street. That to me is where it's always been, and that goes right back to the 1940s with bikers racing each other on the street.
So if we had races on the street in Detroit, you'd be racing to put new tires on every block. So
Yeah.
potholes would just eat them up.
Oh really? Yeah. Well, there's those guys in St. Louis, isn't there? Streetfighters.com. They tend to race on the street.
That's something very different.
But I think they get in trouble now and again.
No,
it's
really?
not. Apparently,
Every once in a while they do.
yeah. Apparently, it's not allowed. So I heard.
Well, certainly not encouraged.
So it would be in Ireland. Is there any more?
Yep. Okay, Peter Reed. I'm planning on doing Route 66 on a Harley. I know there are better, more scenic roads, but this is more about the heritage, history than the scenery, although there are some epic views along the way. I've driven cars in the States, but never a bike, and I've never ridden a Harley. Any tips? And also, would you recommend an organized group trip, which seem quite expensive, or going alone? Any advice would be appreciated.
It's a question you
Well, Route 66 isn't what it was. You can't go from Chicago to LA and stay on Route 66 because it's just not there anymore. You know, you guys call it the dual carriageway. A lot of sections of it has been paved over with interstate freeways. But there are still sections of it that are like it used to be, with little motels and little kitsch places.
That's
and
the
stuff.
Mother Road, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Mother Road.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of Mother Road websites that talk about that. And I think there are probably people who have taken and programmed the individual parts in Google Maps so you can just download the points and then
just go and do them.
yeah, you can just go and do those. But as far as trying to buy into an organized trip, I think it's a waste of money because for that very reason. They're not going to take you from Chicago to LA
In one road.
in one road. And even if they do to try and make it seem like the old Route 66, you're not going to be on Route 66. To make it seem like that, they'd have to go on other state roads.
Yeah.
And
I think, from my part, I did see recently Nick Sampson, who runs Backstreet Heroes now, and Blue, that runs 100% Biker.
Yeah.
They both reciprocally went on. They did the Route 66 tour, and in amongst it, the advert was there, like a commercial on the. So if you buy Backstreet Heroes or 100% Biker magazine, recently they did the full feature running over 4 or 5 issues. They had the advert there, and the company that runs that tour runs several others. They do the Rocky Mountains, they do several others around America where they're different runs, different entirely. So you could choose which one you want, and they're different prices on
I mean, and there are a couple of websites, their name escapes me right now, that specialize in routes that riders have listed. I mean, it's a proper motorcycling website, and they'll use Google Maps to create the waypoints.
Yeah.
And then they've got a review system so you can see whether or not you actually want to do it.
That's a good one. I mean, bikers' reviews are always worth reading, aren't they?
Yeah,
'Cause, you know, the salesman that sells you the package is not going to tell you what a biker would think.
I mean, he has a vested interest in selling you that package.
Yeah,
what,
but
what you want is
if
an
you're
honest.
coming from a different country and you're going to spend the money to rent a bike,
Yeah.
and then if you think it's going to be like the Rat Pack going down Route 66,
Yeah.
right? It's not going to happen because it's just not the same as it used to be. I mean, a lot of it's just gone. But you know
You'd be
what?
disappointed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but in reality, if you go just off the main roads anywhere in America, you're going to find that kind of culture and lifestyle. It's still there.
Yeah.
You just got to get off the main road.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason to own the bike in the first place, right?
Well, that's for me more. I'd probably just do all the southern states, right across the bottom border. You know, right the way across is it.
Yeah, just stay off anything with an I in it. It says I means interstate, right?
Yeah.
Just go on all the little small routes, and you'll find all the cool stuff that no one knew was there.
What do you think, man?
I'd like to do any of it.
Yeah, we got plans for that. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
We'll be over and join you.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I see a ride coming on. It's
Nice.
always garage on the road.
It's a lot further than Yorkshire.
It is.
Well,
yeah.
you know, interesting when
we can make it a field episode.
when Scott and I did the East Coast for the Idiot Collective, I mean, a lot of the state routes that we rode on were just that. And it is really beautiful countryside. And if
You
you
saw
didn't
those
get off,
videos,
if you didn't get off the main freeway, you'd never know that stuff was there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
Are those rides all on your channel?
yeah. For
They are,
the
right. So
East
I'll put a
Coast.
link underneath this video to Mike's channel so you can see that. You can
That's
look
my
at-
personal channel, not the one for the guitar stuff.
No, I get that. I'll do that. Just a link later if you want to. I'll put it
Oh
in.
yeah, sure.
Cool.
Why not?
Well, it's going to happen if you don't have, as I've said.
Too late. Yeah, it's done.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Got any more?
Yeah.
Yarp.
Nicholas Erlin.
Nick. Hello, Nick.
Says, hi guys, first time sending a question to your Q&A. I'm getting horrible speed wobble on my Road King with 16-inch wide apes at 130 kilometers an hour.
Hang on a minute, just a sec. A Road King with 16-inch apes. That's cool already, isn't it? That's just cool already.
Well, it depends how long his arms are.
Well, at least 16 inches, otherwise that could be the speed wobble. Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Maybe he doesn't like to wear deodorant. He just keeps air down.
He says, checked alignment and wheel balance bearings and so on. Should I go with weights or steering absorber like most sport bikes have? I'm only 70 kilograms, so I think this is part of the problem since my friend who's 95 kilos tried the bike and he didn't experience the wobble. Thanks, Nicholas.
I'd say the first port of call is to check your tyre pressures, that sort of thing, and assuming you've probably already done that, I'd say tyre wear. All front tyres, naturally by the dynamic of what they do, they get pushed sideways when you corner, they wear on the sides, don't they? So you end up with a point in the middle. If your front tyre is unevenly worn, that always, doesn't it? Always causes a speed wobble, and you'll be a wobble that you'll go into, and it'll often be slowing down, you'll come through it, and then going up, you'll go through it. It'll just be horrible because you get like a V-shaped front tyre. Certainly the sports bikes, isn't it? When they got soft tyres. So check that, and then would you say the same sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean,
Wheel weights as well.
wheel weights, the balance, whether or not the wheel bearings are still spinning freely, there's any play.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like almost a laundry list of stuff you can check.
there is a long list of things that you can potentially boot.
Yeah, grab a fork leg, put your hand on top of the wheel and push the wheel like sideways just to check the wheel bearings. You feel it click, any tiny little movement.
Any play, it should be none.
Zero movement at all, even the tiniest, even a mil, that's it. You've got wheel bearing issues, that must be dealt with because that could cause it, couldn't it?
Headstock bearings too.
Headstock is another one.
That's it's unrelated to the wheel, isn't it? But it definitely causes
and
problems.
sometimes they don't necessarily even have to be worn. They can just be not adjusted correctly.
Yeah.
There's too much slack.
Yeah.
It also be to be too tight too.
Yeah, so too tight will have the same effect.
The way to do that is get the front wheel off the ground, crouch down in front of the bike, facing the bike, on your knees, grab hold of the bottom of the forks and then pull with the wheel off the ground, pull towards you and back, and there's no play, is there? Then side to side through its full lock and feel for any notches.
Yeah, because it's quite often they feel a bit notchy in the middle, don't they? Because I mean they spend 90% of their time
Straight on.
wearing in the same sort of place.
Yeah, I'd say that. So give the tyre wear a check, obviously tyre pressures, check the tyre wear first, and then the weirdest thing finally, check your rear wheel alignment.
Yes.
Because if the rear wheel is off, that means the bike's crabbing. So at certain points, the front tyre's going to be out of line with the rear, so you get a misalignment which can cause wheel wobble. So check the rear wheel alignment as well. Everything really.
Yeah, do the front rear tire brands match too?
That's it. Yeah, front rear
Because
tyres.
sometimes you'll get that.
Also, check the tyre tread. Look down inside the little grooves in the tyre and check for cracks. If there's little splits and cracks in the bottom of that tread, that tyre's gone hard. And once the rubber's hard, it doesn't give way and grip nicely. It's kind of hammering along the road, isn't it? And that then sends the vibration to the steering on this bike.
He's got a cruiser, and in the US a lot of times, because we have so much straight road, people will go through multiple rear tires and not touch the front one. And even though it's not worn tread depth wise, the front tire's flat spotted, not the rear.
Yeah.
And that'll cause a wobble also.
Yeah. Oh, how many times we get people write to us, don't we, Pen? They say, I've got a Sportster up to sport, it's 1989, it's got the original tyres on, but they've got loads of tread. Will they be okay?
Will they be alright? Yeah.
They'll be okay if you want to stand and look at it, but that's the point. Rubber is finite, it has a time span and it dries out as it's a...
Yeah, and every couple of years the tire technology gets better, so you can improve an old bike just by putting new boots on it, right?
You can, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The Fat Boy, I've got those Venoms on, they're brilliant. Literally soft and sticky, they're lovely tyres. Cool.
Cool.
Question answered.
Oh,
Thank
that
you.
helps.
Robert Lynn.
Robert? Hi, Robert.
After laying down my 2001 Bonneville, I fixed or replaced all the damaged parts, but still have a dent left in the tank next to the gas cap. I've heard a bunch of recommendations from various people, including filling the tank with water and freezing it until the ice expands the dent out.
Say that again. Say that again.
Filling the tank with water and freezing it until the ice expands the dent out.
I've never heard that.
Oh my goodness.
No.
That's a new one. Let us know how you get on with
Yeah.
that. No, that's not going to work. Doesn't expand nearly enough, does it? Plus, it'll expand in every direction,
Yes.
won't it? I know people talk about
Your tank
blowing
will just be round,
Well,
spherical.
like a cushion.
If it did expand enough, if you can manage to get it up to the top where there was absolutely no air gap, because it would compress the air first, right? It's going to go to wherever the stress will go to the weakest point, right? So if that's the welded seam and not the dent, it'll just split it right at the seam.
The other side of it as well is that anything with any dent, I made this point on a recent video I did with panel beating, a dent is extremely strong because it's stretched inwards, it's narrow.
It's work hardened basically.
It's
too.
work hardened, yeah. It's narrow in relation to the thickness of the metal, so it's actually quite a strong little thing. And the chances of that pushing out, if it's small, are practically nil. Especially if that was punched in there and it's actually stretched and it's scratched the paint. Now, for me, it's the Dentrix, but you send the paintless dent removal.
Yeah, there's. I mean,
try them first.
I've I've seen a lot of things I didn't think could be repaired to the point where you can't tell it ever happened with those guys that do paintless dent removal. And we actually looked up the image that he had as a link to the question, and it's not that far away from the filler cap. So
roll them out.
yeah, fine. I would get a hold of a paintless dent removal guy. And
if
see
you've never
if he can
heard
do
of it, paintless dent removal, Google it, look at some YouTube videos. These guys are magicians. They're not panel beaters as such, are they?
Yeah, mostly it's just an eye and lots of specialized levers to get in
and
behind.
they get like a thingy in the tank, don't they,
Yeah.
to reach the back of the dent, and they just lever it out.
Like a dentist.
Like a dentist.
Like a dentist.
A dentist. Is that what they call a panel beater? A dentist.
A dentist.
Sounds
Someone
really
deals with
good.
dentists.
Well, it's misbehaving here.
Was I getting some of that then, Joe? Probably was. Massive ones like that.
But based on the photo, I bet that if they use like a block of wood as a fulcrum point, they could probably get one of the spoon tools in there
Yeah.
behind the dent and just
Just push it out.
push
So
it out
try
and not
this-
even damage the paint.
Yeah, I mean, some people talk about blowing a tank up with air pressure, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And that can work on some dents, but I've
I
seen
don't
a
know.
ton of
They-
them.
they
now.
work-
Compressed air and gas vapor is a pretty explosive combination.
Yeah.
Got
Almost
a
like
little.
baked beans and cabbage, right?
Do you want to live forever? I don't know. Is there any more?
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, hope that helps you.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do the little glue, like the glue stick trick where
Oh,
they
God,
glue a
no.
thing to try and pull it because it'll rip the paint right
Yeah,
off.
anything you put on the surface. Well, I think you're supposed to put petrol on it.
Well, I mean, if you're going to damage the surface in that way, you might
Yeah, if you're gonna
put some
destroy the
filler
paint.
in
rub it
it.
down, put filler in it.
But,
yeah.
what is it going to cost? I think I had a small dent in the car I'm leasing, and he charged me $50 for the dent.
That's
The
it.
guy was in and out 5 minutes,
Good
Yeah.
done.
and it was perfect. They put a little light board on it that's got a bunch of stripes, and they look at the reflection of those stripes against where
As
they're
they
pulling
move,
out.
yeah. And then
And they get it to the point where you can't visually see it, even in the sunlight. It's just absolutely
Good stuff.
just phenomenal.
Clever guys, yeah. Paintless dent removal. Try that.
Cool. Optitrex says, what did you learn from each other's riding differences that you wouldn't have learned in your own country?
He rides on the wrong side
I do.
all the time.
There must be loads of traffic coming towards you.
I get really good at dodging them. It's like a bit like the scene from The Matrix. When
Well, sadly, we've never been to America.
No,
so
we can't
we
say
wouldn't
we have.
know.
We've been to France.
Yeah, they drive
We went
on the
to
wrong side.
They drive on the wrong side too. It's a bit manic there. It really is manic. Mind you, the French truck drivers are incredible. They all drive into the edge to get out of your way. You go along behind a French truck, and suddenly all the hedge will start just disintegrating, and all the mud will start flaying out as this guy's driven into it and then he'll wave you through. I love that. So I think for me, it's just there aren't any differences other than the kind of traditional thing of waving, because you can wave with your left hand. Where
Yes.
we nod, but I don't think.
Yeah, but I got that immediately. As soon as I saw someone else do it towards
Yeah,
me, I was
yeah.
like, okay, I got it,
Yeah.
But, as soon as we got off the plane and we picked up the car at the airport, you immediately get where you're supposed to be. You think,
Yeah.
in your head, you work it up and you're like, oh, this is going to be horrible. I'm going to wreck the car immediately. Especially because everything's a manual transmission over here.
Yeah.
You have to pay a massive premium to get a car with an automatic, and it's going to be a massive car, too. You do not want a massive car if you're just learning to drive in the UK.
So what did you rent? Tell them what you rented.
It's a Vauxhall, the one
Yeah.
we have this time. But the
Is it
last
massive?
time it was a little Fiat 500 Cappuccino thing.
Can you imagine him sat in one of those? Do you remember the scene from The Nutty Professor when he's in the zen?
There's an elbow out each
Yeah,
end.
yeah. When he's in the
on
Dodge
one side.
Viper like that. Sorry,
Hands
carry
raised
on.
like this.
Yeah, in the corner.
That was just fair.
Yeah.
But if you've been driving for any length of time, you immediately get it because you're always in the center of the road.
Yeah.
So that doesn't change. The only thing I find that's a challenge is when I'm in a parking lot and I'm getting ready to pull out, I always have a tendency to want to be on the right side
Yeah.
as I'm coming out of the parking lot.
That's
and I
the
realize
hardest
people
part.
are coming right at me. I was like, oh, I gotta get over.
That's the hardest part, I guess, for you, turning right out of a junction, because you got to go to the other side of the road. Whereas normally you come to it's a tight
Yeah, but it's the
turn.
same as you're turning left.
Exactly.
So-
Us turning left out, we go tight onto the corner.
But if you're on the road, you can see where all the other cars are. Everything's marked.
Yeah.
But when you're in the parking lot, usually not everything's marked. So habits come back, and then I'm on the wrong side of the road at that point.
I found that
But
too.
on a motorbike, you got so much space that it's
Yeah,
easy to
probably.
correct for it, But in a
Yeah.
car, it's different.
It's cool. We'll find out next weekend. as
Yeah,
well.
we will.
There'll be 100 of us riding on the same piece of road.
I have 100 people that tell me I screwed up. Then
Exactly. Yeah. You suck.
What are you, an idiot? Yeah, so
Yeah.
are all you.
So was one of us. So you're among friends, dude. And
Right, Quite a long question from Raymond McGarver. I think we
Right.
might have to answer this personally because it's quite a detailed, involved question.
Yeah, Ray, we checked your question. It's quite detailed, and what you're asking is something that I think I want to answer personally. So I'll send you a personal email, and we'll have some ping pong over that because I can see what problems you're having, and I'll give you some insight on that one-to-one. It will take a little bit of backs and forwards because there's a few questions to ask you to get some information in order to answer you properly, like so many of them. So we'll come to you on that personally, Ray, and thank you for your question. I appreciate that. But we'll do it on a one-to-one because it's a properly in-depth technical question.
Cool.
Thanks, Ray.
Seaside Motorcycles.
Cool.
That's Roy Lightfoot. Way back in the 80s, I used to be a passenger in a sidecar racing team. Have any of you ever...
Smashing Gromit.
The wrong trousers.
Yes. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Have any of you ever track or road raced in the past? And if not, why not?
Why not, indeed. Money, time and days
Yeah.
off and money and bikes and bones.
Days off?
Bones heal slower when you're old.
Oh yes, don't
and they're more painful, yeah.
Yeah.
I must admit.
Don't bounce quite so well.
Days off, what's that? Yeah, I think that's the thing. For me, it's been money, time and just, I'd love to have done it. Proper track day stuff.
I mean, I'm not condoning it, but I mean, as a teenager, we used to be competitive amongst ourselves on the road, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think if I could, I'd drive something like, probably Mad Sunday on the island.
done that.
Because you just
Brilliant.
go, yeah, you can just go batshit around the
Yeah,
island,
it's
man,
just-
on the road with stone walls.
It's just mad.
Brilliant.
I managed
Yeah.
to use
I mean-
a pint and a half of oil in a week. Simply because it spent 10 days like that.
Flat out.
It all depends on, I mean, what kind of riding you like, because everything requires a different skill set.
Yes.
Whether you, I mean, there are guys who like to ride trials, right? And I could
Yeah.
never have the balance to do that on my own feet, let alone underneath
Yeah.
the bike, right?
Yeah.
But I've ridden on the track when I was a kid and I first started learning how to ride. I bought a well-used Yamaha track bike that wasn't street legal, even though I rode it on the street. And I bought the leathers. I got it as a complete package, and I went to learn how to do it. And I rode enough to know that I didn't want to do it. I prefer cruisers better. I mean,
Yeah.
I could get the whole like counter steering and getting me down into the corner,
Yeah.
but like I was never confident enough on it or my skill because I don't know,
I think
my
something
balance
else
isn't good enough for it. It's good enough to ride a cruiser, you know.
I think, don't you think as well though, that when it's your own bike, it's your pride and joy, there's that danger you're going to trash it. If you go to a track day on the bike you're going to take
Yeah.
on the track, you've got that danger you won't get home.
Yeah,
So
but
you
the
need
bike
to-
I bought was already a pile of garbage to begin with,
But
so
it's
I
the
wasn't
other
worried
side.
about it.
I mean,
If it's someone else's
people
bike.
that do race are wired a bit differently, though, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe.
They gotta screw loose.
I think they
Oh,
are.
we know a certain northerner that likes making cups of tea, saying things twice, and he's the fastest bike rider in the world.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
he?
yeah, yes.
You know, we're talking about Guy Martin. You know, Guy Martin.
Well, I mean, he's
one
definitely
of us, isn't
wired. He's
he?
definitely wired a bit differently, though, isn't he?
But I like it. I think he's brilliant. I think he's brilliant. He says everything twice, doesn't he, man? Says everything twice.
Everything twice.
Everything twice.
As long as he's got a cup of tea, got a cup
No,
of tea.
he's got a cup of tea. It's
Yeah.
fine. Isn't he? I think you know, he's the archetypal British biker, isn't he? A bit of a nutcase on the road and likes a cup of tea. You know, that's
Did he have one in his hand on the wall of death?
Yeah, I reckon he probably did. Yeah, show him the one out on the wall there. Yeah, and as he came past the last time, the book had long.
Yeah, so
Nearly finished.
instead of holding out like money on the side of the wall of death like they
You
used
hold
to
out
do
tea.
on LT, he just grabs it while he's riding about.
Brilliant. We love Guy Martin.
Oh,
Cool.
right. Now, this one has been asked by 3 different people. Adrian Pilkington and Ian Wallace and...
We can't get this one
Graham
wrong.
Logan.
Graham Logan. So. Right, same question. So a popular question.
Go on,
Can't get it
Melanie.
wrong.
And the question is,
Lane splitting, filtering is only legal in very few areas of North America. Every argument I've heard for or against seem to use the same reasons for both why it's safer and more dangerous. From people that ride where it's legal and not, what are the pros and cons? Is it safer or not?
right, from people who ride where it's not legal.
Well, legal and safe are two different questions.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
So-
yes,
I'll certainly agree with that.
It's safe as long as everyone understands it's a practice and we are all doing it,
I
right?
agree with that.
Because you can filter lane split here in the UK and it's not a big deal. And in the United States, it's not, like I said previously, each state has a slightly different traffic law. So a lot of states it is illegal. In some states it isn't technically legal, but there's no law against it, so people just do it. But at that point, you get people that want to take street justice and law into their
Yeah,
own hands, and
yeah,
they're getting upset with you because you're not stuck in traffic and they have been for 45 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
So they may open a door on you or like
Yeah.
move their car over just enough that you clip
Yeah.
it when you ride by.
But this is the point. We said this because you get here, people will move over for you.
They will, but then equally you do get people who are resentful of your ability to get through traffic. But,
Yeah, especially when they're stuck.
but I think the difference is, as you say, where it is legal and where it is practiced,
That's the thing.
people are not surprised by it.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's
mean,
like-
you know, a lot of people, I think, well, I can't speak for people in the UK, but the people on a motorcycle are taking one more car off the street,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I don't
that's
think
because they're not really getting away with something. I mean, you're riding in the cold and the wet and
Yeah.
everything else.
I don't think they really care that you're helping the road traffic. They're
No,
just
no.
jealous that you can get
Yeah.
home. And a lot of the time, the other side of it is you get, at risk of offending maybe, but you get the midlifer who can't afford a bike, doesn't want a bike, hates bikes because he hasn't got a license and he wishes he had a better life. He sees you rumble past
Yeah.
on your Harley in the sunshine and he hates you.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and
he
of course,
doesn't- but he
his
doesn't hate
son
you.
in the back wants to be you.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, and you think, well, of course he's going to hate you. So yeah, if the law is against it, he's going to do something to stop you because he thinks he's righteous in doing so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. Where anything is legal, it's probably safer to do it in the sense that other people won't take
And
action.
there's the awareness of it. And plus, the people they don't have that attitude, well, he's breaking the law, so I'm going
Yeah.
to show
I'm
him.
gonna have,
Yeah.
I'll learn him. Well, I drive my coach around central London sometimes, and when you see the bikes in central London, right in the city,
Yeah.
it's incredible. They just ride like they want to die.
Yeah.
But they don't care. They're in and out of the traffic, the wrong way up or one way, then back a bit over the
Well, some of them
pavement.
are delivering pizza too. You know?
They- Most of them, yeah.
Or
the worst ones
Well,
are.
I mean, back in the day when couriers were big business in the
Yeah.
in the city, I mean,
Don't follow a dispatch rider.
They were
You'll get hurt.
lunatics,
Yeah.
absolute lunatics.
So that's the point.
But well practiced at what they did, and again,
Yeah.
within the confines of the city,
Yeah.
the other people using the road are expecting it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you don't have that, you know,
Yeah,
a
I mean-
as a bigger problem as you might do if you know you transplanted that somewhere else
Yeah.
where it wasn't legal. People are taken by surprise.
And in some
and that's
countries,
where
it's
the
not
danger
even a
lies.
question. I mean, if
That's
you go to
right.
India, traffic laws more
Yes.
What are
Yeah.
traffic laws?
Everybody's lane
All,
split.
all you
have-
need to know is
have-
you give way to the cow.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
It's true, isn't it?
It's true. Give way
It's
to the-
true.
give way to the cow.
So if you rode a bike that was black and white, you had patches, you could
You
get.
have buses that are lane splitting with cars. You know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it comes down also to this thing where they switch off the traffic lights on a massive junction,
Yeah.
and suddenly it works.
And you know what I've seen that time and time again, where my journey to work goes across one particularly large junction where the traffic lights are notoriously unreliable, and it always works better when they're broken than when they're working.
Is that because you've done a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Well, technically, driver courtesy happens in every one of your roundabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People just know what to do.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they started putting roundabouts in like areas around our
Really?
Detroit metro
I
area.
didn't think you had them. You
A few of them.
A few of them, and it's carnage because nobody knows when to go. Nobody knows what the hell a yield
It's
sign
getting
is.
better.
You know, it's getting better, but like now that we've been here, I just floor it right into it. It's like it's a yield,
Jump
not a
right
stop. Jump it right in. That's what Timmy told us.
Yeah, that's what she does, just floor it.
Yeah, we don't have any problems with it now. But there'll be somebody sitting there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They can't figure out when to go into the traffic circle.
I think the other side of it as well is that it depends on your ability, doesn't it?
Yes.
Filtering is something that you have to build up a skill for.
You
there was a time when
you have to practice it.
When we lived in London, I never sat behind any other vehicle, no matter what, even another bike. It was just like they were prey. You know, every vehicle in front of you, you hunt them down and you get past them, no matter what. That is your mission, and it's just I rode everywhere, and I don't do that now. I just tend to just cruise along. And you might overtake the odd bit, but you go back to London, you see them still doing it there, and you think, God, that scares you for a bit till you get in the mindset. So all things are about practice.
If it's a question of whether or not I think it should be legalized, I do. But that would have to go with a huge campaign to let everyone know that it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to have belligerent people who think that you're breaking the law and they're going to enforce it for them.
Again, you'd have to get 50 states to agree to.
But I've sat in traffic jams in 95, extremely hot weather,
Yeah.
super high humidity, where I was ready to pass out on the
Yeah.
bike, where the guy beside me, who's making it hotter with their air conditioner because it's a heat exchanger, right, is just sitting there and cool as a cucumber
With an
while
ice
I
cream.
sweat. Yeah. Is it hot? And he's looking at
hot?
you, right? And you just go. You know.
So what are they doing, like New York City? In the centre of Manhattan, the bikes have to sit in the
They
traffic.
filter.
Do they?
They're not allowed to, but no one's going to stop them because how's the police going to chase you when the traffic is so bad and
What
nobody's
about
moving?
number plate right to your house later on? That's what they do
time,
here.
resources, money. We don't really have the infrastructure of like closed circuit TV cameras on every pole
ANPR, we call it.
looking at for
Automatic
license
number plate recognition.
Yeah.
They're in the police car.
I mean, I think they've got
Cash point. Cash point. Yeah. Government cash point system.
Yeah.
They do that. That's the trouble.
See, I was just about to.
Go on.
Ding.
Ding ding.
Ding. We kept the waffles
The
out
waffle
this morning.
alarm.
Yeah, kept the waffle out. Right, sorry, that's
Well, it wasn't me. Melly wanted frozen biscuits or something to throw in.
She's a brute. You just have no idea.
Yeah, she
I
looks
do.
so sweet,
I'm
Sally.
learning. She looks very sweet, Sally.
Yeah, yeah.
You notice the toolbox is locked.
She's the enforcer.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren and Lassie Halka. Similar questions. What bike do you wish you still had?
Oh, lovely.
And what's your favourite best bike you ever owned?
One I got now.
What bike would you like to get in the future?
Well,
So, ever had?
ever had is quite difficult, but it's probably easier to
Best bike you've ever had?
name the ones I'm glad I got shot of.
Oh, we've all got lots of it.
I have several of those. I mean, there's a few spring to mind. I had an XS 750, which
Oh, God.
chocolate cans.
That's nasty.
I couldn't wait to get rid of it. The centre of gravity was up here somewhere, and it was just horrible.
They were nasty, weren't they?
But no, I've enjoyed most of them. They all do different things, and it's very difficult to nail down. You know, if you had to have one of the bikes I'd always owned, do you know what? I don't know that I could actually choose.
No.
I mean, I tend to ride roadsters, you know,
Yeah.
unfared. So it would be that sort of format, but I don't know. I don't know.
I did like the socks that you had.
But my 650,
Yeah.
I must admit that was a lovely bike, lovely bike.
See, that's something I can't even have in the US,
Yeah.
and I'd like to have one just to have it. You know? I have the bike I always wanted. Like, I didn't know I wanted it until Indian came out with the new Scout, and then I test rode one. And I'm like, this is a
The
brilliant
17,
bike. I gotta have one.
yeah.
It's
a bike you get on and you ride it up the road and you feel at peace with
I
yourself.
think you just know, don't you?
And you don't want for anything, you
just
don't
know.
covet any other bike.
No.
I've been 35 years trying to find
Yeah.
a point where I won't covet the next bike I see.
Yeah.
And I haven't got there yet.
No, I haven't had that moment.
I do love my Fat Boy. I think the Harley Fat Boy for me is it's the best Harley for me that they ever. It's not by any means the best Harley, but for me, it's my very favourite Harley they built for many reasons. For the politics of it, for the movie that it was made famous by, which is like the best sci-fi movie ever, and all of that stuff. And of course, riding it all the way to Yorkshire and back, falling asleep like an armchair. It's just a lovely ride. Two of us like a limo, and you know, big old chugger. I love the power. I love the weight. That's what it's all about for me. But
I mean,
again,
I've had so many Magnas that like I haven't had a lot of different bikes as it
if
were.
you ever want to know where all the Honda Magnas are, they're in these garages.
Yeah.
Well, they're all gone now.
They're all
I go
gone
down
now,
to
so
one
long.
Indian, and then Mel's. We both have two bikes now.
Yeah.
The garage is filling up quick.
What have you got, Melly?
Honda Rebel 250 and Triumph Speedmaster.
So it's just so cool.
Fantastic.
Nice and clear, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's got some nice drag pipes on it too.
Yeah.
You want to see her grin? Just
I like that. Cool. It's difficult. I mean, things like a Z1300. If I could have bought one of them, they're things like the RD250 and that. Yeah, once
Yeah.
upon a time, a Z13 was about as interesting as a stale loaf of bread. No one wanted them. Couldn't get rid of them.
No.
They were like paperweights. But now, a decent Z13 is 10 grand.
And this is the same with the bikes we cut our teeth on, you know,
Yeah.
back in the days
Yeah.
well,
Isn't that just a midlife thing?
Well,
you
it
want the
is.
stuff you
It
couldn't
is.
have
It
when you
is.
were younger.
but then there's also the point of it's always dangerous sort of revisiting these things because,
Yeah.
you know, technology and every aspect of biking has moved on in those
Yeah.
35 years.
Yeah,
And if you go backwards, you do run the risk of being massively disappointed.
Yeah, don't visit your heroes.
Yeah.
And that.
yeah. I mean, like, there's always going to be another bike you want,
Oh yeah.
but
yeah.
there's always like the bike you love the most. Like, because
Yeah.
I would still love to get one of the new dark horses, right?
Mm.
But I wouldn't ride it like I ride the Scout. It's not
No.
as nimble.
No.
But I wanted just to have it. What you need is
Yeah.
you should ask us how big a garage we want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
that's
just
the
fill
one.
it up with bikes,
Yeah,
right?
see, we know one like Jay.
But there's an equation about the perfect number of bikes, isn't there? It's X plus 1, where X is the number of bikes you have currently.
Right. Yes. That's the one.
So
That one and the
That
next.
equals garage size.
Yeah, so you can never have enough, could you? You would
Too
end up-
many are never
as you
enough.
say, you end up like Jay Leno, but
Actually, that leads on to the next question, doesn't it,
Does it?
Melly?
Rather
A little bit.
Oh, yeah.
tenuously.
Okay,
people would think we knew what we were doing.
Mex-Tex or MX-Tex, I'm not sure.
Mextex.
Mex-Tex. Would you consider owning an electric bike?
See, too quiet.
There's much talk of the massive talk, if you'll pardon the pun and all the rest of it. I'd love to have a go, but
You couldn't write that and it'd be funny, could you?
No, it's not
Well,
fun.
do they have P0 dealerships
But
in
no,
the UK? No.
But I couldn't see me owning an electric bike. I just couldn't.
I just doesn't do it for me. I think I know it's good. I know it's the right technology, but I think it's blind. It's a blind alley. I think we all need to go. Harley Davidson have produced one purely, I think, so they say they did, and they own all the rights. You can imagine there's probably a massive pile of copyrights against that bike, so that anybody else ever wants to do it, they have to pay Harley. But that's I don't think they ever want to make.
I know we don't all see entirely eye to eye on this, but I personally think it's the wrong technology.
I actually agree. Because the battery technology just isn't there yet.
No.
I mean, you wouldn't, if you're just talking about it being a functional transportation and you were just going to use it to commute, it would be a perfectly fine bike if you can get the battery technology there.
Yeah. Which you
can build the capacity up now to get the range that you need, but then you got to wait 8 hours to charge the thing up.
Yeah.
I mean,
or the onboard charger is so complex that you weigh the bike down to charge it up quickly.
For me personally, I'll never think of anything else than milk float. Going all the way from the technology and how right it is and where the future of it is, to me, it's about as interesting as
Do you
it
have
is.
milk floats?
It's not interesting. It's not cool, is it? There's nothing cool about going up the road silently. It's just like an invalid carriage. What are those little four-wheel things? Like your nan rides to the shop.
Interesting conversation.
Melly doesn't understand what milk float is. She thought it was a cereal.
What?
A milk float. It's a battery on wheels.
A milk float, yes, a giant battery, and they put bottles of milk on the back, and the milkman drives them around the streets and things.
It's an electric,
like a
it's a
delivery
small
truck.
electric computer.
Yeah, it's like a little electric. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, you don't see it very
I thought you were talking about where you take a scoop of ice cream and you put it in.
And it's on top of it, that's a Coke float, isn't it? That's something else.
But invalid carriages.
Invalid carriages,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
But even then, the best invalid carriage ever was them blue ones.
Well, they
with the
were.
sliding
They
door.
were the invalid
There was. It had.
They were government issued.
Well, they issued by the council.
Villiers 4H engine or something, weren't they?
Little two-stroke engine. They smelled more of smoke inside
And you know-
than they did outside.
They were all crushed
I'll bet. Yeah.
because they were owned by the government or the council and all the rest of it. When they withdrew them, they took them all away and crushed them.
Yeah.
because
If you were disabled, you applied.
you were given it.
But they're not electric, were they?
No, they were a Villiers engine.
The point being, an electric.
handlebars.
Well, they did that. It was a little tiny
And
car
sliding door.
with a sliding door and handlebars in it. I think somebody will tell us the proper name of it.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
they were designed with a crayon, I think.
you can.
And a fist. And they're all blue, weren't
They only
they?
had blue crayons.
That's it, yeah. Fisher Price blue, weren't they? No, seriously, electric bikes for me, they don't do it. A part of being about a bike is noise and smoke and fear and
it's-
offending the straights.
It's tactile and visceral, and that's why it becomes too.
He's smart.
He's smart.
That's
He's
probably
I-
did you
smart.
Did you swallow the whole D section of the dictionary this month?
It takes away too much. I mean, if you're not riding it for basic transportation, why are you riding it? Because you like the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way
Or
it
you're an
feels, the way it
invalid.
handles.
Yeah.
And there's no disrespect to that. At the end of the day,
The thing I want to see is I do want to see electric technology integrated into the internal combustion.
But that's the way forward. That's the correct way
Like
forward.
KERS on Formula One
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
Koenigsegg has their new supercar, or hypercar at this point, where it's a massive V8 dual, like supercharged, turbocharged, whatever it is, but there's no transmission. They use a direct drive electric motor that acts as the transmission. And at that point, you don't need gears because the electric motor will overcome the inertia at rest.
Well,
You get that instant torque, and then all the horsepower is there from the engine.
But that's not new, is it? You know the massive yellow Tonka earth movers, the real ones.
Yeah.
So they're 50 foot tall and they take 50 tons of rock at once. Those things, back in the day, in the 70s, they had a V12 engine powering an electric motor. They were actually
as
driven.
did most trains.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
all the diesel electric trains were exactly that kind of.
You could have
technology.
some kind of cool hubless wheel
Yeah.
with a built-in motor stator
Yeah.
unit and do torque vectoring to make that bike handle better
Yeah.
because you're actually helping it.
I think
come
it
through
depends
the
where you
corners.
come from, doesn't it? If you're into race bikes and sports bikes, I think you're probably more prepared to accept the technology because those bikes are about technology,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah.
Whereas if you're into Harleys or
But that's where
you're
the
into
sport comes
heritage,
from, right?
you're into a V-twin that thumps and
Yeah.
pounds its way up the road and makes a big brutal manly noise and smoke and fear.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So not for me, but I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't.
It's
do
coming
it.
though. I don't think we'll
It
avoid
doesn't do it for me. Well, I think we will avoid it.
You reckon?
I think, as I say, I think it's the wrong technology, and I think until we
We're
veer
getting
off,
the waffle alert.
until we veer off into this hybrid scenario, I think it will just fall flat on its face.
On that note, I think
End
Melly should hit you with the next question.
Hit the next question up. Electric bikes, no.
She's going to go for you in a minute if you know.
Cut, clang.
Nick Martin sent in, it says, hey there, first time asking a question. After a period of high speed, 80 plus miles per hour on my 2008 Harley Davidson XL, what was it? 1200C, stock save for,
I think he means 2 into 2 then.
2 into 2?
Yeah, 2 into 2.
V&H big radius. The engine revs won't come down until I've come to a complete stop. What gives? I try gradually downshifting, ALK the way, but
That's all the way.
I think, yeah, all the way, but even in first, when I pull the clutch, the thing revs back up. I've checked throttle for sticking.
Right, it's an ECU
yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Isn't it? There's fuel injected bikes, so that's an ECU issue,
Mm.
and it could be stuck in slow run mode. When you start a fuel injected Harley, they have 3 modes, three kind of phases of running. They'll start to run at about 1800 revs. They'll drop down. You just listen to it. Drops down about 12, then it will drop to idle. Once it warms up, it's probably either stuck in its lean running mode, or so cold running.
If it's a Vance and Hines 2 into 1, that means he probably replaced the whole system, right?
But if you have, if you've unplugged the O2 sensors and not done anything with it, you do need to remap it.
Or if the system, like some of the systems don't have bungs for O2 sensors.
Yeah, that's right.
So then you have to use some kind
V&H
of-
radius they do, but
They
if
do,
you haven't
yeah.
if you haven't short circuited them, talk to your Harley dealer about your stage 1. What you're talking about once you put the radius pipes on, and you change the air filter and then the fuel injection system. Those 3 things form a stage 1 tune, and you have to get them all consigned with each other. A Harley Pro Tuner, which is a little orange box that you get, Screaming Eagle Pro Tuner, you just plug it in, it remaps the ECU to run really well with those pipes. You get better fuel economy, you get better performance, and it will run nice and lazy as well. So I'd say that the only thing you can do with that is go and get your ECU checked. Because if it's nothing physical, if your butterfly's not sticking open or the spring's not broken on the throttle, or you've got like a cable nipped up or something, if everything's springing back nicely when the engine's off, then it's definitely an ECU issue. So you've got to get a Harley dealer to check that, I'm afraid. Sadly. And that means money, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Okay.
Deliver bag of cash to dealer.
Yeah, to the wheelbarrow of
Fixed.
Gear Jammer writes, having just bought my first V-twin, a 20-year-old Kawasaki VN 1500. What's the best V-twin engine ever? The
Is that
Yamaha
the Mean
series,
Streak? The VN15?
1981 Virago to present V-Star series, and virtually the same engine.
Well, I think Yamaha have got the longest heritage in Japanese V-twins, because it goes right back to the XV750, the 80s, doesn't it?
Yes.
The original V-twin,
Yeah.
pre-Virago,
Yeah.
and then the Virago series about 5
Although
years
as far as the best goes, you know my opinion.
Well, absolutely.
It'll be Vincent every time, but
Vincent or a Bruff.
I prefer the Vincent, controversially.
Well, I don't know, really, ultimately it depends where your mentality is in biking.
Yeah.
If you look at the latest 90-degree V-twin Porsche-derived engine in the
Yeah.
V-Rod, it's enormously, they even sell a performance one, don't they?
Yeah.
They do the Screaming Eagle V-Rod, you buy it for drag racing, it comes with a drag race ECU, no license, no registration, you just go and race it. So I think technology, the V-twin engine, for me, is
it's the best format.
definitely.
And they make good power. I mean, I just bought the Scout 60, and I put the power commander on it, a different intake, and I put a 2-in-1 from Bassani onto it. And it's now making 9 more foot-pounds of torque than the bigger 1133 Scout does, and that's just from tuning.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential horsepower
Yeah.
that's available in the
Yeah.
V-twin.
But then
Plus, it sounds better.
You
That's
look
the
at
important part.
But any V engine is always going to make the most power. Look at top fuel drag cars.
Yeah.
They're always V8s.
Yeah.
There are no other, are there? Unless you're talking of perhaps the old fringe stuff. But
Yeah,
most
when you get,
top fuel drag
there's,
racing,
there's always the exception in there. But,
it's a
but
V engine. Just the principle of a V engine on the physics sense, isn't it? It works
I'll have
better.
a very boring video on that.
Actually,
enjoyed that
it is
video.
actually, it's quite interesting if you get into it. They probably wouldn't like it. I reckon for me, I like the big twin cam motor. I like
Yeah.
the proper Harley engine. You could say perhaps a 36 knucklehead. That's probably what all the Harley owners will love, or a shovel engine or something like the shovel head motor. But personally, when you look at them, they're so archaic. You still got push rods. You still got a primary chain. When the Triumph now is running gear-driven cams,
Yeah.
gear-driven primary. So it's a nice
Yeah.
sharp engine, nice and snappy. Same as the Victories as well. They're more efficient in their mechanical process. There's not as much metal clattering around to produce the same power, but it's still about the V, isn't it? And again, then it's about the exhaust, isn't it?
Yes.
And what,
Well, even Ducati, the Diavel is a V-twin, isn't it?
yeah,
Yes.
it is. They're all, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at it, they're a 90 degree, aren't they? They're always
Yeah.
a 90.
Yeah, which always sounds mighty with an acrophobic exhaust on it. It's just,
Yeah. There's a channel that I watch called Track 848, and they do Ducati racing and stuff. And this guy's just done a video of his 848 on a track. Oh, it's just awesome to listen
Yeah,
to.
they
It's a
are.
proper voice, crisp and sharp.
Yeah, they are
barking.
just-
Aprilia makes a nice V-twin that has a great sound to it also.
Yeah, we had a Miele last year. Yeah,
I mean, of the latter day Ducatis, the 848 is probably the best.
yeah, definitely. There's no two ways about it. I think all the V-twin engines evoke a little bit of soul, don't they? A four-cylinder engine is efficient. It kind of does its job, and it's
a
kind
bit. Well, I mean,
Well,
I
it's-
brought the XJR today, which is a parallel 4, and I'm constantly looking for another gear because
Yeah.
it feels like it's just.
I was just
revving
going
out.
to say that it's the torque
Yeah.
that makes it more streetable.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on the track and you're living at high speed at high RPM
Yeah.
anyhow, then the inline 4 makes more sense
Yeah.
to some degree because you're always going to be up at the rev limit.
Yeah.
Whereas the proof of that it's universal use is you get sports bikes and think, well, okay, sports bikes, four-cylinder, fast, revvy, great, but then where do Ducatis come from?
Yeah.
Ducati, you probably you
I mean,
just grab one of those around the track, that sound, you know.
I mean, historically, of course, Ducati won the day because of their handling prowess,
Yeah.
whereas the Japanese, well, you just didn't, did they?
No.
They just didn't.
if they finished.
I don't think we had a concise answer on that other than V-twin, yes.
Between yes, always
Between good, everything else bad.
Okay.
Well, okay, hope that helps.
I'm not sure if that was even the question. But
No, we told you we'd be messy, didn't we? Right, wasn't it?
Ready?
Yep.
Mickey Baines, I need to repair part of my wiring harness. Is it better to crimp or solder? I know you hate electrics.
That's right, I don't know much about
Doesn't
it.
everybody? It's the spawn of the devil.
It is.
Is it better to crimp or solder the wires? Which gives the most effective, stable repair? Both will be finished with glue-filled heat shrink tube to give the joint more mechanical strength. What's your opinion?
Solder it. It isn't about mechanical strength.
What he
it's
said
about,
then, he said solder it. It's just a slightly different pronunciation. Solder
See,
it.
once again, I'm butchering my English lesson.
That's okay. You're bringing your special flavour with you.
My special nonsense.
Do
Yeah.
subtitles, it'll be fine.
Does he want to do some subtitles? Yes.
You know, in school when we were taught how to do an inline solder splice repair, it isn't. You don't twist the wires together. It's literally you tin the ends of both the wires.
Just button.
You kind of side lay them on top of each other,
on top.
and you just quickly touch it. You don't want a big blob of solder on there, and it's good enough to hold it together.
Yeah.
The glue-filled heat shrink's
And that's just going to
hold it. It's not going to come apart unless the wire's already under some kind of stress. In that case, you're going to have other problems.
In
anyhow.
actual fact, even if the wire is under some sort of stress, it will break where the tinning finishes.
That's
right.
Because that's the weak
Because
point.
the
This
solder
is
joint
why
gets tighter.
I've always said that if you aren't really good at soldering and it's not something you're proficient at, then you're probably better using really good quality crimps.
Although it's not a difficult skill to learn. Like,
No, you can practice
like
it.
all these
No,
things.
just
once
take
you
some
practice-
scrap wires and just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We at school, what we had to do is we had just a scrap of wood and we pounded a bunch of nail heads that you sand them off to get the zinc or whatever materials under so it'll hold the solder, and then you could just go through and practice soldering. You heat the part first.
Yeah, I was
and
just
then
going to
flow
say
the
that.
solder into
That's
it.
the mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah, they heat the solder and
They heat
it
the
drips
solder
off.
and try
Yeah.
and apply.
And then
don't.
you get this
Yeah.
caked together mess of solder, and it doesn't hold together and it falls apart. That's why people want to twist the wires
Yeah.
together.
I think also people think you have to use a soldering iron. And they're actually, to me, they're for radio terminals and things. If you're actually going to solder two wires, what you need is one of those little tiny lighters, like a
Well,
rocket engine.
I'd say I use a soldering iron, but then
And if you just use the tiny little flame, you've seen those?
Yes.
Click, you get a little tiny 10mm sharp pointed blue flame. If you just heat the wires with that,
Yeah.
you just touch the solder
I mean,
on and it flows.
It really depends on what you're fixing on the
Yeah.
bike. Because if it's on Mel's bike, somebody, and I was too cheap to replace it with a different battery because it was already a new battery. They put the wrong style battery where the posts were reversed on Barney, her little 250 Rebel.
Right.
And the wiring harness was butchered. Somebody had already tried to do something with
Switch
it.
it around.
So I still soldered the repair, and I used a crimp in addition to that too. So I heated it up with a torch because you couldn't get it hot
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Flowed the solder into it, and it will definitely
Never
it'll
come
wick
out.
it right in. It will never
It's
come
one
out.
piece, yeah.
And now that repair is better than the original wiring.
Definitely. All right, so there we are. I think soldering every time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Marvellous.
How many more we got left?
Only a few more.
Cool. Okay.
Ken Smith, the last owner of my Honda CBR 600 1992, rounded off the bleed nipples on the calipers. Do you have any tips of how to remove them? Thanks to you, Vince. You're inspiring to do more and more for myself.
You had a little trick with that, didn't you?
Yeah, back to the soldering iron.
Yeah.
I've had that problem before, not on a bike, but on a car. And if you just, because usually the bleed screw is either brass or like some kind of dissimilar metal from the cast aluminium of the caliper.
See, even in the course of this video, he's learned English.
I can get learned. So you just put the soldering iron directly onto the bleed nipple, heat it up, spray it with WD-40, and do a hot and cold cycle on it. It'll eventually break. It's galvanic corrosion that's frozen in there, and eventually because the nipple will heat up so much faster than the metal around it. Right?
Metal.
And then you can get your grips on there and just crank it off. And it doesn't hurt to try.
Enough heckling from the start, please. Right,
it doesn't hurt to try it. Because if it's going to break, it's going to break. And then you're still into the point where you're going to drill.
As you said, they got a hole down the centre, so even if you snap it off flush, you can put an easy out in there, can't you? Or just drill it out and then thread it. But be careful if you're going to drill it out, because obviously, if you trash the
obviously it has got a hole in the middle, so your drill is going to be in the middle. It shouldn't wander off.
You can do literally an easy out might work. You know, like I say, it's that galvanic corrosion that causes it to seize in there.
But most of the time,
or people do them up too tight because they think they're going to.
Yeah, that's the worst.
So
actually, when they're too tight, the heat cold cycle will help them come out way easier.
Yeah, cool. Right. So
sorry, Mickey Baines. When I read his question out, he asked another question.
Right.
Any more ride-outs coming up?
Next weekend.
So remember when this video is going to be?
This weekend.
Then.
Whilst we'll be on the ride tomorrow.
Or you may have missed it.
Yeah.
But you've got the forum address, and what I'll do is I'll go through with you and answer a lot of these questions if it's needs a pass.
By the time you watch this video, we would have been back in touch, because this video is being filmed now on a Sunday and it's going up online on the following Saturday. So it'll be a week before you see this. Too late for the run, but we'll contact you personally and we'll give some details. And that will be in the next day or so.
Yes, I'll
so you'll have plenty of notice, and we'll give you all the details you can come along.
Going forward in the future, you can always visit the forum, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You can visit the forum, link underneath. Excellent.
Sign on there and register.
Yeah,
you get a warm welcome. And
that's the Idiot Collective Forum. We kind of started a social group a long time ago for everybody to just get together and socialise, and it's called the Idiot Collective. It's worldwide.
Yeah, that's where you met this idiot.
There's this idiot. So we have our American section, so you can sign in there if you're in the USA.
And a section for Canada too.
Your section for Canada and anywhere in the world really. So just sign on in if you're interested. That works. And I'll say I'll put a link underneath to that so you can join it too. Cool.
More women, please.
More women. There'll be a women's section coming up shortly. Cool.
Yeah, women's section, and
I'm going to do that actually.
We've met some amazing people through it.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we really have.
Especially these people.
Yes, indeed. Oh.
Right, question from someone very special, Doug Ireland.
Very special. Doug is the chap who donated the sports stuff to the channel something like a year ago, so this is very special. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate your question. What's it?
He's bought a Nomar tyre changer. Works great, but he can't get the bead set. Do you have any tips for setting the bead? I've seen some YouTube videos where they use lighter fluid and a whole lot of fire.
No.
But he wants to
don't do that. Whatever you say, don't do that.
It does work.
It does.
Yeah, I think it works on big 4x4 tyres.
We used to do that in the military to see deuce and a half tires back on the rim. But
well, I think someone had a trick for this. Was it you said? Ratchet strap.
Yeah. Just take a regular ratchet strap, put it around the tire.
Yeah, right
in the middle.
Yeah,
center it up and just start ratcheting it down, and eventually the bead will get close enough to the rim.
Yeah, it squashes the center of the tire and squashes the sides out, so you get enough seal.
Because usually the shop will have a big, powerful air compressor.
And they can shoot so much air.
They can shoot like 80 to 100 psi into it quickly with the valve pour out of it, right?
Yeah. But even then, I've seen the tire guys put the tire thing on, start pumping, and then they'll fist stump the side of the tire. Just to get it to catch, and it will start to go.
Yeah, because as the air's trying to escape out the void between the tire and the rim, eventually the tire will catch hold and it'll just pop out against the
The other trick is is to clean up the rim. I mean, obviously you know this.
You recommended hair conditioner, and that worked great. I tried that too.
Yeah, you just
I got a bottle of cheap hair conditioner just for
Honey, where's my conditioner? Oh, I just
the bike smells so good.
Bike smells lovely. Mind you, if you're going to get that stuff on the tyre treads, then you're probably going to...
Yeah, probably best to clean that off.
Clean it off first.
Well, but it's water soluble. It washes
Yeah, it
off
does,
easy,
yeah.
so.
But that's the thing, clean off the sticky lumps of rubber that get left on the rim inside, isn't it? Because that stuff tends to stick it. And then, any tyre soap or just conditioner.
If it's an older rim, check to make sure where the tire is going to seat along the bead is clean. Too.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Get a wire mop, I do that with a drill, and a spinning wire mop head and clean around the actual bead to get that absolutely pristine, so then you get a good seal.
Yeah, because with a tube tire, you don't have to worry about it. Once you fill it up, it's going to seat the tire anyhow. But on tubeless, ratchet strap, it'll.
So ratchet strap round the centre of the tyre, ratchet it down, and then push it out, and I'll get easy.
Right.
Cool, glad we could help you.
Yeah, I'm glad we could help. Last question, and I've left the funny one to last.
Last question.
Martin says, this is a silly session, so for each of you,
What's that?
if you could make a film or movie about biking, which of the themes would you choose?
Choose
1, Hellraiser Gang.
Hellraiser Gang!
Sons of Arthritis.
Sons of Arthritis.
That might not work.
Maybe not.
so-
Sons of Arthritis. Yeah. Sons of Anchovy.
2, Road Racing Team. Well, the amount of cakes you've all eaten,
No,
you
we're
can get your levers, wouldn't you?
There'll be levers are shrunk again.
I don't know, I could advertise Michelin.
3, World Exploration Disaster Movie.
It would be a disaster movie. It would be a disaster of a movie.
Yeah, the whole movie would be a disaster.
Actually, number 4, Michael Suit, Keystone Cops on bikes.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll some of that.
Or would you like to do a biker's rom-com?
What's a rom-com?
Romantic comedy.
All right.
It's where you put the bike in bed
I'm
with you and you
speaking
get the
American
blanket.
now.
I love my bike. So you could have scenes riding it, couldn't you?
Yeah,
There's websites for that.
wrong.
Yeah, there's websites for that already. Not going there. That's cool. I don't know. What would you make a bike movie of? It would have to be like Freebird.
Yeah.
I think Freebird is the best biker movie in the world ever.
Well, I mean, it's a comedy. Isn't
It's
it?
a comedy,
It
yeah.
is
What's
a
not-
fantastic film.
What's not right about a van full of weed?
Yeah.
It's
And a weekend in Wales.
a weekend in Wales, yeah. Finding Welshmen who could grow weed in the field.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I
Brian
think
and Curly Worthy and
what's it?
what's
Curly
it?
what's it? Cheesy quavers. No, I think you've got to do something that doesn't take itself too seriously, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's because all the Hollywood movies now, they all take themselves way too... Look at Sons of Anchovy. It's just, it just got itself way out of order, didn't it? I mean, they lost it completely. Started on a good format and just lost it. So if you're going to do it, it's got to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Maybe that's the British mentality, I don't know. You don't want it to be too serious.
No, definitely not.
What about you? What do you reckon?
All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah, delete where applicable.
We could
We
just
could
do a
do
we could
Slightly
just do a
irritated
film.
Max.
Basically, what we're talking about would be a movie about an idiot collective ride-out, because it
Yeah.
pretty much is all the above, right?
Yeah, all of the above, definitely, yeah.
The irony being, when we did slope off for the weekend for a bit of a knees up, we all deliberately didn't film it.
We made a great movie
Well,
weekend.
somebody might get identified by the police then.
I think we knew how it was going to be. So
Yeah, we did obviously
So
deliberately
You'll
not
have
film.
scenes of graphic violence against cake.
Yeah, the Cake Appreciation Society, we're not like that.
Yeah.
They sent us hate mail again.
Yeah,
Do you know what happened last time?
we've had Mary Berry on the phone.
Yes, she just bought a Triumph. She wants to come for a ride.
the PG chip has never been the same since.
Never mind bubbles. Oh dear. See how stupid it would get. We better not start.
Yeah. Slow-mo scenes of us burning out on a cake plate.
Yes. While holding some tea.
Yeah.
Finger out.
Yeah, definitely. So, was that the last question?
Yeah, it
I
was.
can't believe it. It's over already. Q&A USA. Well, there we are. What can we say? Did you enjoy it?
Oh
Did you enjoy that?
yeah. Good.
I think
Good.
so.
It was great.
Well, there we are, everyone. Thank you so much
To
for
help
watching.
us swim to get here.
Yeah, exactly. Cheapskates, couldn't afford a plane ticket. Cheap ass. I think that was brilliant, don't you?
Oh, splendid.
Splendid. Right, so there we are. Thank you very much for watching Q&A USA. That's been a little bit of fun for us. We hope you enjoyed it. So from me, take it easy, ride safe. See you next time. From him,
Take it easy, ride safe.
and from him.
Stay safe.
Doodles.
See you next time. Bye-bye now.
Toodles.
Toodles. For the name of your dog.
Isn't that a cat?
No, that's Tiddles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh dear.